Yes, welcome to the Make Ready podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Tindall, and I'm here for this episode of Coach's Corner with Mr. Adam Glover. How you doing, dude?
Hey dude, I'm good. It's been a busy little while, but yeah, good to be here.
Yes, good to have you back. So today's topic we're unpacking is about getting clarity on what we're building in life from kind of ourselves, the life that we want to lead, and everything that encompasses that, and the importance of having a vision, because there's a lot of what sort of we do in our coaching and our new coaching program, Make Ready 40, is very much about helping men get clarity. What does that mean for you? What's your sort of thoughts on that?
So I really like, and I'm going to go straight in at the deep end here. The way we've laid out Make Ready 40 and the pillars of what Make Ready Men is, you know, the physical, the emotional, the EQ, the the spiritual. That there's so much about those pillars in our lives. Obviously, the mindset being huge as well. That when I look for clarity in who I am and what I'm doing, I look to those pillars
Mm.
because I think they're quite all encompassing. And spoiler alert, we purposely designed it that way. Like, of course we did, you know. But the when I'm looking for clarity and direction, if I feel a little bit lost or rudderless and I'm not really sure what's going on, that's where I look and go, okay, can I in each of those areas, can I be certain in answering the question, what am I doing in that area? What am I focusing on? Because if the answer is no, if it's I don't know, I'm not sure, then that's my prompt to pay attention to that area. If that means notebooking, right, just verbal diarrheaing on a page, brain dumping, doing whatever, then fine. If it means going out, getting walking with some clarity, whatever it may be, letting your mind flow. If it's talking to people, talking to other men who may be in similar positions, whatever it is, the point stands. For me, I gain clarity by understanding, can I answer the question, where am I going here?
Yeah, I love that, and using that. We use that as a check-in every week, as just a bullet point. How you're doing in each of these areas of your life and your sort of identity and how you're showing up to the world. So yeah, that's a really good point of using that as a check-in place. And it's like, right, okay, as you say, am I
Mm,
clear on what I'm doing? And if I am I doing it?
yeah,
It's great to
exactly.
have the clarity on it, but it's like, then am I showing up in that area?
Yeah, and I think that and how many times have we come across this in ourselves? I'm not here using. We sit there and go, yeah, I'm doing that. Are you? Like, are you? Because it's all well and good. Like, there's that saying, best play, blessed. Try that again. There's that saying, best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Mm.
And it's just that great. You've got this idea that that's what you're doing. Let's take a real world example of me at this moment physically,
Mm.
where I set the goal at the start of the year to qualify for a finals aspect of a competition, like compete, qualify for their big finals. I was like, yeah, sweet, that's what I'm doing. And the reality of the situation has shown me that actually, through competing in the events I have, I'm not at that standard.
Mm.
And I find it quite firing. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not at the standard. I know what I need to do. But there
Mm.
have been times where I've potentially been quite blind to it, in the sense of, okay, I'm doing that. Yeah, great. It'll be fine.
Mm.
Actually, am I living the ethos? Am I walking the walk? Am I doing what I need to do to achieve that goal? Because when you have a standard that is held externally to you, if you're not at it, well, it's very plainly obvious to see via a leaderboard you're not at it. And when you look at that leaderboard, you go, oh, I'm not there. And so, for me, that's a very immediate real world example, something I'm in the aftermath of this weekend. But yeah, for me, it's like if you're not walking the walk, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what goal you say you've got. If you're not actively taking steps towards it,
Mm.
you may as well just be, one of those. hustle pages on Instagram. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
work harder. Like David Goggins thrown over the top talking about carrying boats and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know you're sort of in that process now,
Yeah.
and I know how painful and frustrating and humbling and all the things that is, and that is the importance of us stepping up to the plate and competing
Mm.
and
Mm.
embracing that challenge, if we want to actually achieve the vision we have for ourselves, or do we
Yeah.
just want to talk about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, are we just gonna sort of talk about it and it be like, great, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and are we happy? I've always had the sort of ethos, I want to aspire for greatness, go and try and come up short, rather than being an old man saying I coulda, shoulda, woulda. I'd
Yeah.
have preferred to say I tried, I just wasn't good enough.
Yeah. And
Ultimately,
there's that very good quote that both means a lot to us, but to snap a bit out of it, if he fails, if he fails, at least he fails whilst daring greatly. So his place will never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And it's just like, yeah, okay, I may be towards the back end of that leaderboard, but I'm on it, and that's okay.
that's it, man. You're showing up.
I'm I'm still going to get after it, like, because I'm very much in a case of now, like, hold on a minute, I can do this. It is doable. Other people do it, so let's try.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's the mindset piece. That's a growth mindset. That's a tenacity we talk about. I think there's an important piece there as well of having, like having that clear vision of who we want to be, and it should be big, right? Hopefully, we'll have many years to build this vision of ourselves, and then we need the goals the goals along the way as performance markers to see if we're actually progressing across that onto that vision.
Yeah, it's when we look at the big vision, right? And you look at that overarching thing of, I always, I've always been asked this question by people who like try and get who I am, like people who know who I am, and they go, what does 70-year-old version of Adam sit there and go, I'm happy, I went after it, and the answer is always the same. And this is the big overarching thing, is to live a life of purpose. Like to not half-assed it. To go, well, whatever I decided to turn my head towards, I gave it all of the Adam Glover energy, as much as I could, throw myself at it. And I was a success more times than I failed, but failure was there consistently. And I think, do you know when, like, this is interesting. I was thinking about this today. You're in the gym, like, so our recent event where you and I trained together and we did the standard, we failed at certain points, right? We failed to lift a certain weight or push a certain level or go further. We treat that as part of the growth. It's like, well, yeah, now I can train and go past that. Why don't we do that in all the other areas of our lives where we fail? Like, do you know when, like, oh, that doesn't come off, or this plan that you had and you tried and it fails, why do we then go, oh, that's bad, I just need to throw it away? When in actual fact, say for example in training, in physical fitness, you find your breaking point and go, well, I can train that and get better. It's interesting that in the fitness pillar, in the physical pillar, we treat that as a mark of progress, but the conception across the rest of the world, I'm not saying that's what we believe, but the mindset is, well, no, fail's bad, don't do that. Like, no. Failure is the growth. That's how you know you're on the right path.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a big reason why physical training is so important, not only for the health and performance and the protect and being able to function as a human. It's the mental, the fortitude that you learn through disciplining the body, and you can reel off many philosophical quotes, and all the great religions are all about disciplining the body and training the flesh to sort of submit to your will and discipline. And I this is something that I've really learned through martial arts, is that all those lessons I learned in the cage took with me and how I approach everything.
Yeah.
You know, really learn my capacity to be outside my comfort zone, and be in challenging situations and trying to find other ways out. You know, especially in a fight when someone's better than you, like striking, can you get them to the ground? And, you know, or you're in a grappling match, you need to get out the submission and, you know, find another way to win. And I think that physical pillar can teach us so much about life. If we look for it, right? If we have that awareness to be like, actually, yeah, I can use this failure as a way to keep building, instead of letting it break me. And don't get me wrong, we've all been there when we feel almost broken and wanting to quit. And then that leads into all the other things we believe in the power of coaching and brotherhood and everything. But having that attitude is, I think, really, really powerful. So you said as well having that vision is that purpose for you.
Yeah, and it's like the overarching. It's a like goals are like within. If you think of that, having that purpose, to not half-assed it, to go after it, to go out whatever direction like, that's to me is the vision of a life lived well, right? It's such a. It can be quite vague. It can sound quite vague as a thing, you know, to live a life of purpose. Well, what does that mean? But it's subjective to each individual, right? It's subjective to the man who's reading it or the man who's talking it. But I know the voice inside my head that when I say that when I'm 70 years old or I'm 80 or I'm 90 or whatever, I know whether I'll believe it or not.
Yeah.
I know whether what if will be there. Oh, what if I just did that? I don't want that to be a thing. Like, that's why I left the military to do this, because I don't want what if to be a thing. I want it to be like, okay, cool. You found a thing, you did it, you ran it to the ground as much as you could. So the purpose is the vision, it's the overarching. I want to say umbrella. I think that's used too much, but like, the umbrella that covers but that's the overarching thing. And then to me, the pillars of Make Ready are the individual points within that I then attribute things to and go, right, okay, what do I believe in my own mindset? Like, what's success there? We know it's not pure stoicism, granite. There is wealth in that, of course there is. There's resilience there. There's vulnerability. There's fatherhood. There's all those things, and it's all these little areas that you then attribute. Can you answer the question simply, what am I striving to achieve here? If you've got to trip over your words 17 different times telling a 5-sentence long thing that you don't really know the answer to, that's probably a good indicator that you're not clear on what that is for you. And yes, you can. I don't want people to oversimplify it. But, I just want to be really fit. That's oversimplification. Like, it can be targeted towards things and do X, Y, Z. And so when I think about the umbrella of purpose, I can then attribute the areas of my life that mean something to me and achieve goals within each of those things.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me, when I do like the vision, creating the vision, it's like start at a funnel and constantly condense it down. So like write all the things, like really get detail, and then can you have like that pithy one-liner? This is what I'm achieving, in this area, or even overall. It's and I think both serve a purpose. So one of the things is like, how does that help? How does it help having a vision? Because I've witnessed a lot of men I've coached before who don't have a vision for their life. And one of the things that I think you said in a podcast a few weeks back was about that sort of, and I've just got this image of swinging your legs out of bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of, for me, that's a big reason why you need purpose, right? Because that really helps. That 100%. Process of you're aching, you're tired, you've had rubbish sleep. Swing your legs out of bed,
Yeah.
get up, and get on.
That I was having this conversation with another man recently, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why I can do it, but I can. In the sense of, and by the way, I'm not trying to say I'm superhuman or anything, or got superpower. No, what I'm saying is that I think it's because I've got a clear purpose in each of those areas. I go, okay, yesterday was horrible. Like I was at breaking point last week. Sweet, but you still swung your legs out of bed every day. I still woke up this morning going, right, another day to chance it, another day to give it everything I've got. And some days are great, some days are not. Some days are really poor, some days I question everything. But as of yet, I'm yet to meet a day where swing my legs out of bed and go, okay, if 10% is all I've got to give today, I'm going to give 100% of that 10%.
That's it, right?
And
your best every day doesn't look the same.
No, definitely not. And you and I have seen each other in some of our lowest points of like, oh, what are we doing, And I think that leads really nicely into that. Yes, I swing my legs out of bed every day, and I do what I can. I talk to myself in a way to get myself moving forwards, but I also don't do it alone. I do it surrounded by, I do it surrounded by people who support me, and I'll be 100% honest, that's when the doors started to open. That's when the lights started to switch on. Oh, this is what it's like to have the support of men who feel the same, who have the same issues. Maybe not in the same field, right? Because I think I can be quite, when I say the word 11 reef, do you know what I mean?
No.
So, right. So, the place Tenerife?
Yeah.
Right. There's always somebody who's got an 11 reef. Right. There's always somebody one that like. So, and I always finding like when you operate in your field, if you spend all your time just solely surrounded by the same people in the same field, they will always try and be like, oh well, this and this and this, because they think they know your problem.
Yeah.
They think, oh yeah, when I did that, like I just wore these glasses and did this, and you're like, cheers, thank you. Like that doesn't help me. So I find actually the strength comes from the variety.
Yeah.
There are people within our group though who are just from completely different walks of life that I've ever walked in.
Yeah.
And I listen to them talk, I'm like, your life sounds awesome. Like you get to do that. That's really cool. That's really cool. And so when you have that kind of variety, and it's not like we've been big on this from the beginning. It's not unsolicited advice of people just throwing their hat into the ring. They listen, they talk, and you listen to their stories. They listen to yours, and you find these little tidbits. And for me, that became the doors that were opening. And then, okay, cool, that's really good, and I like that, and that connection, that also helps with purpose, because we've had people in Make Ready who felt like they haven't had a purpose or don't know how to answer that question, but through power of association, things start to become clearer because their idea isn't spontaneously forced from your own head. Something happens to you, you interpret it, and then you project your own opinion, and that gives you the idea to think. If I sit you in a blank room and say sit down and think about something, everything only comes from your head. But if I sit you in a room full of lots of engaging things, those things come easier.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's like a piece about inspiration as well there. You can get inspired, especially by the circles and just the mindset. You've got all these men, they're committed to do self-development, they're committed to be, showing up as the best version of themselves. And that adds, as you say, you find parts of your story in their life, even though their life's packaged completely differently. And you have that commonality there. And you can just take that inspiration. It's kind of like that, and like going for a walk, it's that creativity, that movement, that fluidity that you just don't get from doing it alone. And then and sort of putting that into the vision of your life, and I think this is one of the things that a lot of men struggle with, which is why we do this work and we focus on the purpose and the vision, is because I think many men, and I understand why, they lack a compelling vision for the future. And that's for a multitude of reasons, not least at the moment. You just have to, if you consume too much social media and news and stuff, like the future doesn't seem particularly like a good place, and I sort of admit that affects me as well, and that does affect your decision making. So that vision for your future, absolutely, it affects how you show up on a day-to-day basis, and it affects your decision making. And obviously, those two things will impact your future. 100%. So if you don't have something compelling to aim towards, you're going to either stay the same or get worse. And the chances are, because of the society we live in, you're going to get worse.
Yeah.
Because it's too easy to eat all the junk food, drink the alcohol, watch the Netflix, and you'll just go downhill massively. And that's, I think, why I just encourage men to stop and think. Stop and think and create a vision. And it can expand as well.
I was about to say,
this vision. You can just set smaller visions. If the big vision is like, I really have no idea. Okay, cool. Can you focus on something? Can you focus on one pillar? Hey, let's start on the physical pillar. If you're lacking in there, that's a nice tangible thing we can address. Guarantee you, if you're a couple of stone overweight and you lose that, you gain some muscle tissue.
Yeah.
You're going to be feeling a lot better about life, and you're going to feel more compelled about your future.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that maybe we haven't been so outwardly facing with, but actually, the people listening to this podcast genuinely do need to know that doing that, committing to the physical, and going, yeah, I'm carrying a bit of extra weight, and I should probably get rid of it, will make miles of difference in your life. Like, just the feeling of, okay, I'm in control, I'm on top of my physical training. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? We know both know this, but what I'm saying is, once you start that process of like, this is what success, this is what it's like to feel better. And you start to see the world through a different lens. Yeah. We massively believe that it is a fundamental part of what we do, and if you want to come into Make Ready, and again, I'm not going on a sales pitch here, but expect us to challenge you to commit to some sort of physicality.
You have to.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
We say you have to as a man, you have to as a human, like to be fit and healthy, but especially as men. And from our lens, of what we believe men should and could be, you've got to be physical. Because I also feel like men who don't embrace the physical are dangerous. We talk about this with with martial arts and stuff, but that just inability to actually push the edges of your own physicality and understand what it feels to have the testosterone and the emotions flowing through you, and then channeling them into a healthy outlet. If you don't do that, you're more liable to lose your rag at someone, because you won't know what it feels like.
Yeah. When
someone flips you off at traffic lights or whatever. Insert whatever analogy of a man who's not in control.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really interesting. That it's not really, it's a really great place to start. If you have a question about what you're striving for purpose-wise, start with the physical. Start with the physical. Find a place for you to begin there, because it is so tangible. Lose a couple of stone, add 10 kilos to your bench press, like all of these things. Run a faster 5k, go swimming,
and
put weight on your back.
You're right, where you are now, right? We don't have to be comparing. And I don't think like body dysmorphia, eating disorders and stuff is spoken about enough in men. It's always like a woman thing. But comparing yourself to all these jack dudes that are probably on steads on Instagram, I'm guilty of it. It's like, I get stuck in that comparison trap, and I'm like, oh man, and I'll be like looking and feeling like I'm in good shape, and then see a picture, and I'm like, oh man, it's because I don't look like that guy who's been, who's
Yeah.
however many % body fat, who's trained for that photo shoot for a couple of days and then comes off it. So just having awareness of that and tailoring it to where you're at, specific to you on your journey,
Yeah.
and understanding that you can still make progress. And just because, say, I'm spouting off that I think all men should have the ability to protect their family and fight, I do really believe that. But if you've never trained martial, like, don't let that me having that opinion put it off. You can still hold that and be like, yeah, fair enough, and you can do whatever you want with that information. But what I do think, as a minimum, is you need to show up to that physical pillar.
100%.
And it's the same with any of it. You can have a gold standard. So this vision that I want to encourage men to craft in their life is the gold standard. It's like, yes, that is what I'm aspiring towards. The reality is we're probably not going to hit it, let's face it, if you're thinking big enough. But if we can get close to it, that's going to be pretty good. It's like getting there as close along that journey. And that way it also keeps you sustained and motivated. Because we've all heard the stories of all the people who've ticked off all their dreams and ambitions and goals, and they're like, oh. And like, world crumbles around them because they're like, oh, I don't know what to do with my life anymore. Yeah. So that's why the vision can shift and change. And if it's big enough, you're probably not going to achieve it. But it's the reason why it's that compass, it's that direction. It's like, that's where I'm headed. And that informs every decision I make. And we like to distill things into the small habits, right? That decides how I show up on this day. And I may not always get it right. I normally get it wrong.
Yep.
One of my other great sayings I like is, God loves a trier.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that. I think what you said there about having an audacious vision, something that is like not stupid, like, I want to be Jeff Bezos. That's obviously a very poor place to start. But if you're like, oh, X, Y, and Z, that's all up here. It's incredibly high. It's incredibly difficult to achieve. You get within inside 10 feet of that, still far better than where you are now. Yeah. And I think that's, people would view that though as a failure. Like, oh, you haven't achieved the thing. No, but I had a bloody good time trying. Like, I really went after it. I really pushed myself. I really felt like I was giving what I had to give in that moment to find out who the best version of me was. And if it wasn't at that level, fine, that's great. But at least I realised my potential. Yeah. And I think that becomes so much more, because when you look at the evolution of a man's life, what is placed upon your expectations changes and shifts as the years go by. And it shifts at such a dynamic rate, in the sense of, you're teenager. The expectation is for you to fit in well at school and to, have lots of friends and, to get the girl and, to do all those things and to be good at sports and to be good academically. And, that becomes the expectation. And then, before you know it, you're in your early 20s and it shifts, becoming more having prowess around both physical stuff, both partying, again, females, all that. Like, it shifts. The outside pressures shift so quickly that if you don't have your own internal dialogue of what you're going after, you'll very quickly find yourself on a path you never even considered to be a path of yours.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece that and this might resonate with men listening, that you wake up one day, you're like, how did I get here? And I think that also speaks to the piece that you started off the podcast with. It's like, am I happy in this area of my life? Maybe it's a job that you hate, and it's maybe it's time to change that. and be intentional of things, but also just looking at this big picture. I always try and encourage when there's big shifts or changes about decisions, as well as asking from peers advice and support before you make these big decisions, but also just like have a look at your vision. Where are you going? Be intentional. Because we've discussed some of the stuff I'm unpacking now in my in my winter clear. That's just 2026 clear. This is like hangover stuff from years ago. That I made decisions way back when about business and stuff that I'm now trying to unpack and get rid of from my life. And it's not, I probably would have made a different decision back then, but it's not always sort of really bad or anything. But it's like looking at my life now and be like, is this part of the vision? Or is this causing me grief, anxiety, or whatever as part of my overall picture for my life? Is it important to me, or is there another way? And making a decision based off that. And it's like, actually, when I look at my vision for my future, no, I could really do without that stress, so I'm going to get rid of it. And that decision may not be the easiest decision. Because my decision right now, for the mystery subject I'm discussing, is I could stick my head in the sand and ignore it again. But instead, there's probably going to be a good year of pain to deal with the situation. But I know the bigger vision is the thing that needs to be done. So it's not always the easiest decision. It's not always the quickest. It's the one that helps get you to living the life that you want to live. It's the one that is in support of your purpose. And for me, when I sort of look at the vision, it's like kind of the material. So where you live, what your life looks like, if you're bothered about cars and houses and stuff like that, holidays and that. It's the who you're with. It's your family, it's your relationships, it's your friendships, it's your community. And then it's your identity. It's who are you as a man? The physical, the intellectual, the emotional, the spiritual. How are you showing up to the world? And in my head, that's like part of the vision. It's like the material, the relational, and then it's the identity piece. What does that look like? And are the decisions I'm making now in supportive of that, or am I going to end up way over here just thinking, scratching my head like that didn't go to plan?
It's a really, it can become very easy to be swayed without without a general direction, I also implore men to do this, because you brought it up in my life and I went, okay, that's actually a really smart thing. Started off as a winter clear, which is for you turned into 2026 clear, but actually the idea of I don't need more, I need less. And I remember us going through the process together. We were like, we went through things, right? Okay, for each, obviously individually ourselves. It's not like a sharing exercise. It's like, okay, these are the things I need to clear. And now we've periodically gone about clearing those things. Is life magically better? No. But is it easier to focus? Yes. And has there been other things added to it? Of course there is. It evolves just like the goals list. But that's another great place to look at, is that can you cut away all the things that aren't serving you, that are just causing you to bury your head in the sand and go, oh, hopefully that'll go away? Or can you just attack it, that little bit of pain now, to know that it's gone and it's off your thing? I think it was we do this a lot where we just bring up quotes that we've heard and things that people said. This is actually Jimmy Carr saying that problems aren't a bug, they're a feature. It's not something that's going to happen you get rid of, it's just they continually happen. It's just you need to adapt and get better at solving them. And last time I checked, burying your head in the sand isn't solving a problem.
It's such a bad... No, it doesn't work. Been too long for me doing that.
Agreed.
To get rid of stuff, as you say. It's often the most challenging one. I also like speaking to that. It's also never as bad as you think it's going to be. In my
Yeah, yeah.
experience, sometimes it is, and I'm really hoping this thing I'm dealing with at the moment is not going to be as bad as I think it might be, and that's where faith and I'll be praying a lot for
Yeah.
that. But it normally isn't. Your mind just has a habit of making things into way worse, and when you don't deal with stuff and you leave it in the sort of catalogue of your brain, it's taking up capacity. When you look at stuff and you think, oh, I should do that, I should do that, it just stays there and it just clutters. And in a world where we're bombarded with so much information, we don't need that. Even and talking about being intentional and like that vision and stuff, it's also being intentional about what you're listening to and how much you listen to stuff. Because I can find myself just bouncing from podcast to audiobook to podcast. I'm just consuming information here. My brain's so busy. I'm not actually having time to process. Not only the information I'm consuming, but all the information that needs processing.
It's
or creating new ideas.
exactly, and that processing information. It's not something we're like. We don't really do it anymore as a human race. We don't process information. We're just fed it, and you don't have time to understand it before you moved on to the next thing you're being fed. And I think that's like, even this podcast might show me one thing already, is that, okay, go back to that Winning Clear document. Make sure everything's off it. Maybe it's not a Winning Clear document. Maybe it's just this task clearance needs to be done at a more efficient rate, and the big problems need to be removed.
Yeah.
Because when you look back, on mine, I certainly removed quite a lot.
Yeah.
That hopefully allows me now to push forward. Filled it with other things, but it's now about, okay, cool, let's see if we can push on. So yeah, definitely, just noting that. And yeah, like, I definitely, and I love to do this, is I try my best to unplug as much as I can. Realistically, it's not happening that much at the moment, just because things are so hardwired, but stepping back and just taking time to be alone and be like, where am I at right now? It's definitely powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to sort of finish up this topic, we can absolutely do a sales pitch as our podcast. So
yeah, 100%.
Do it. The Make Ready 40 program is a 40-day program to help men do just that. It's clear. And yes, it's inspired through the biblical 40 days of Jesus going into the desert, of fasting and of challenge, of asking questions. And that's the process we take men through, is clearing out and inviting men to clear out the habits that don't serve you, fasting from the things that don't serve you, from alcohol, from junk food, from pornography, from whatever it is, that all the things that aren't serving you. And to start implementing daily little bits of good habits, lots of sort of reflection time and journaling pieces to increase your emotional awareness. But the whole point at the end of the 40 days, you will have improved physically and your health if you've stuck to it, with Adam supporting you, and you will have asked the important questions you need to ask to get clarity on where you want to go in life. And come out the end of it with that clarity of vision of where you're going, who you want to be with, who you want to show up as this man.
Completely agree. I think what we've spoken about today in this podcast, about understanding goal, like what you're getting after, goal setting, and how you prepare, that's exactly what the Make Ready 40 does.
Yeah.
It's 40 days of clearing to gain clarity. Yeah. And the way we've designed it is that by the end of that 40 days, you can actually answer the questions because of what you're trying to do, because we've cleared the path.
Yeah.
And you can see really what you want to get after.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't do it alone. You get the support of other men who have done it or are doing it. You get, coaching sessions with myself and Adam. So maybe a bit biased, but it's a great program.
You're allowed to be biased.
I'm allowed to be biased, and yeah, man, I'd recommend it. So if you've listened to this and be like, yeah, I really need to sit down and put pen to paper and craft a vision for my life, check out our 40-day program on at makereadymen.com. I will put the link in the show notes. You can also trial the first 5 days for free. What you don't get is the group aspect, the community aspect, and obviously the coaching sessions, but you can try the first 5 days for free, where you'll get a taste of the content that you'll be sort of going through over the 40 days. So do that, and you can sign up if you like it.
Yeah.
Good to see you back, mate. Good to get another one in. Guys, thank you for listening, and as always, just keep showing up one day at a time. That's what we got to do.
Let's go.
Nice one, Adam.